Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy Jack here at the IrishHotspur, and this is your preview for Tottenham's Premier League match away to West Ham at the London Stadium. We will be talking about the tactics, talking about that style of play for both sides, as well as speaking about how Spurs can win this one, win this big, massive London derby. But before we get into it, don't forget to smash that like button. Do give me those score predictions in below. But let's get going, everybody. Let's talk about the cold hard facts as we always do to get started with the cold hard facts. West Ham have won their last two Premier League home games against Spurs, only better by their four in between the years of 1997 and 1999. So better West Ham than we're used to is what I would say is what you could take away from that. But then when you look at the other elements of the cold hard facts, it does say that actually West Ham have been an easier team for Spurs historically than maybe other sides. Man City is sort of a team we wish we could say we could play every week, and then Everton as well has been maybe historically quite an easier side for us. But West Ham, hasn't been the toughest, you could say. If Spurs do win this one, this could be our 100th Premier League London Derby match. Shows how massive of a club we are to be the third one to do that in all considering all the massive clubs in London. And it also shows how maybe West Ham have struggled in London derbies, having lost the most London derbies out of any London side. But enough of the cold hard facts. Let's go into the head-to-head between David Moyes and Antonio Conte, as well as Spurs and West Ham. When you look at it here, everybody, you can see that the last five results have been a bit tricky for us. And to break down actually those last five results, the 3-1 win, I actually was there, myself at home, in 2022, then followed by a 2-1 win under Antonio Conte. In 2021, that League Cup win. We did lose in 2021, actually twice, in the case of Nuno losing 1-0 away from home. And then in the case of, I think, again, in 2021, we lost away from home, at the London Stadium under Jose. We had a 3-3 draw. Very, very disappointing performance. We all know what happened with that Lanzini screamer in the EPL as well in 2020. Conte's record against West Ham, he has 4 wins, 1 draw, and 2 defeats, so that does show that he has experience against them. And he also actually hasn't ever lost to West Ham, at least as a Spurs manager. He's never lost to them. And again, those 6 games of experience, I think, do help us out as well. This is a bit of a typo, so I'm not going to pull it up. But Moyes' record against Spurs is actually 9 wins, 10 draws, and 15 defeats. So it does show what an ancient manager this guy is in the Premier League, how many games he's had against Spurs. So clearly a lot of experience there as well. Moving into the team news, we're going to basically just announce that Skip as well as Romero have been back in training. I think that is huge news for Spurs, because in the case of Skip, I mean, maybe we can experiment with the midfield a bit more, perhaps go with a 3-5-2, and then as well, with Romero being back, we're not going to be, probably so weak defensively, because I think, the likes of Antonio, Jared Bowen, we're going to need, Romero for this one. He's also one of our better players, I think, in possession, and our center backs have struggled, I think, in their development of the game, or at least, their tempo, sort of setting out of the back. Going into West Ham's, kind of team news here, we are going to speak about just maybe their new signing, Naif Aguerd. They did sign him for £28 million from Rennes, but I believe he's been kind of sort of injured since the beginning of the season. Pretty unluckily, but good for us, you could say. But he is going to be out at least for a while. Craig Dawson is soon to be available for West Ham, but looks like he might not be available for this one. He's a huge set-piece presence for them, so I do hope he isn't available for West Ham in this match. Benjamin Johnson did pull up and was substituted after only 23 minutes against, I believe, or at least in their last match, and that could mean that, or I think it was against Aston Villa, that's right, in their last match, and that could mean he couldn't be available for this one, or at least as a doubt. Cresswell also could be a doubt with this one with groin issues. That was reported after the game. He was kind of seen to have groin issues towards the end of the game, played through it. Maybe he's not available either. So Craig Dawson, definitely probably not going to be in this one. Naif Aguerd certainly not going to be in this one, their new signing. Benjamin Johnson, probably a high doubt. And then Craig, or Cresswell as well. Aaron Cresswell could be a slight doubt for this one. But going into the tactical animations, speaking about how West Ham will set into this one, they are a deep line counter-attacking team, everybody, and they have been experimenting more with the back five, this season, which is why I sort of see them going with a back five against us. I know they're sort of kind of infamous or famed, however you want to put it, for their 4-2-3-1 that has been effective in the past. But, David Moyes has been experimenting more with the back five. Even some of the players he's brought in this season have been more suited for a back five. They have those combative midfielders in the case of Souček, Rice, and Fornals, especially Fornals, very hard-working player. If they use those wing backs, of Emerson or Cornet, I could see them having some freedom down that left-hand side, especially coming up against Kulusevski and Emerson. Hopefully they are suited up coming up against those players. But in general, I would say their wingback play isn't actually that strong because with Johnson, being probably, a doubt, it seems like Soufal would be the one to step in. So will he really put Soufal as a right wing back, in this one? Perhaps he'll switch back to that 4-2-3-1, David Moyes. But we all know everything goes through Duckling Rice. He not only dictates the play, but he also wins the ball for them. He is an excellent midfielder. He basically is the one that makes things tick for them, and he is their sort of tempo setter. They're a huge set-piece team, though, so even though I kind of show them, kind of creating this counter-attacking, sort of goal, like I said in the beginning, a very deep-line counter-attacking team, they are a huge set-piece team. Last season, it felt like they really relied on set pieces. I think that's sort of, probably the reason why they even haven't scored too much so far this season is because they do rely on those set piece goals. Zuma, Souček, Antonio, Scamacca, as well as Ogbonna, who could be picked for this one, or major set piece threats. Thank God Craig Dawson isn't available because he is also a huge set piece threat for them. Alongside that Cresswell delivery, which is usually pretty sublime, they do have a very good set piece system over there. When it comes to maybe how they do defend, like you're kind of seeing, they are a very deep lying defensive team. They're going to be relying on those counterattacks. They do have hardworking midfielders there in Rice, as well as Soufal, and as well as, the likes of Souček, I kind of meant, and Fornals is hardworking, just so many kind of deep lying, hardworking defensive players in there that will be willing to win the ball for them at any given moment, but also be willing to, kind of sit back and invite the pressure to unleash, the likes of Antonio, to unleash, the likes of Bowen. So again, this is something that we're going to have to take into consideration, that they will probably be, plenty okay with giving us the ball, West Ham, and they are plenty okay with, sacrificing possession as long as it means they can kind of unleash good counterattacks, pretty similar to us, which is we'll probably speak about how Spurs will, line up in this one. And like I said, it could be a game where actually Spurs, for once, this season, are given, a bit more of the ball, and hopefully that does mean that we'll actually be better. I feel like probably the reason we've struggled is because we haven't had that much possession, and if a team does give us more possession, I could see us, having a very good game. But West Ham are a team that do like to concede possession. Even under Nuno, we had 63% possession against them in our 1-0 defeat away from home. The games under Antonio Conte that we've played, actually at home, we've had more possession. It is a really good opportunity as well for Basuma to come in. He is someone that likes to enjoy a bit of the ball, so do expect maybe Spurs to, for maybe once, apart from the Southampton game, to have a bit more of the ball this game. And with the likes of Rice and Souček, this could be a very combative sort of game, between the two midfields. If the game, does come down to the two midfielders, I don't know, Basuma and Højbjerg, versus Rice and Souček could be a very interesting one. But I do expect, the game to be sort of won in the midfield. As the animation shows, this is kind of, typical Spurs with how we like to build up, with the likes of, Dyer, waiting for Højbjerg to drop deep, to play alongside him. And then we do get, Basuma and Sonny involved. We're just going to wait for this to come back here. Apologies. So when the ball goes to Dyer here, as we always know, it seems like Højbjerg is that one that sort of helps out. Dyer drops a bit deeper on the left-hand side. He plays Sonny, who's been used as more of a hold-up man, maybe hence why he's sort of struggled in the opening games, as he is playing a bit of a different role. Plays the likes of Basuma, who is a good ball carrier, kind of sitting alone in the midfield, finds Perisic in this one-on-one sort of situation with the opposing defender. Perisic is able to chop him in, chop him out, play that sort of, kind of deep, kind of back post ball that, basically got us that goal and should have gotten us a red card against Nottingham Forest. Instead of Harry Kane this time, it's another kind of, Conte aspect, is those kind of overlapping wingbacks, and even those overlapping wingbacks might find themselves at the back post. And I think this could be the case for Emerson, where Perisic, plays that similar, floating back post ball, and it goes into Emerson. Emerson, instead of being able to redirect it towards goal, actually redirects it back the other direction, for kind of a scrappy tap in for Harry Kane. So let me know what you think of that animation and how Spurs, kind of develop play. There's so many elements of that I think are kind of accurate for how we do like to build out. And I do see us to having, kind of more of the ball this game. How will Spurs kind of set up for this one? I'd like to think that this will be a game where we will be handling maybe a bit more counterattacks. We often put ourselves, though, in bad positions, I think, when we are in possession. And since we will be in possession a bit more, this could mean that there are more opportunities for the likes of West Ham to spring counterattacks, especially with how poor I think sometimes we do build out from the back. It seems like we put ourselves kind of in tricky situations, if you ask me, and that could actually help West Ham spring some counterattacks. We are probably a poor defensive team from set pieces. West Ham are very good from set pieces. This is something I think that needs to be stressed multiple times for this stats of Jack. Davies will get forward, but Romero and Dyer are going to need to be responsible because I think Antonio and, Jared Bowen are going to be used again as those sort of counterattacking threats, and we're going to need at least two defenders back there to be able to handle them. And if we do, kind of abandon, the back line, abandon the defense, they could, find they could find an opportunity to really hurt us and, kind of punch us in the mouth. But that is how Spurs defend. That is how Spurs attack. Let me know kind of what you thought of those animations and kind of what I thought of the styles of play heading into this one. But we're going to look at the danger man, and the danger man for this one probably isn't a surprise when it comes to West Ham. It is going to be Duckling Rice. Duckling Rice, he is the one that makes them tick. He has the most touches in the entire squad, most completed passes, and is probably the most targeted player, you could say, in the team. And he is literally the most targeted player in the team. When it looks, when West Ham are looking for a player to be able to, settle them down, when West Ham are looking for a player to get something going, it's obviously going to be Duckling Rice. He is not only sort of that combative defensive midfielder for them, but he's also that tempo setter. He is able to also make passes under pressure, able to switch play. He carries the ball into the final third. He does so many things for them in so many different manners, and he really is sort of the complete midfielder. He's still also, again, like I said, one of their most combative midfielders. He has the most tackles and interceptions combined, most successful pressures, and has the most loose balls recovered. So not only is he driving him up the pitch, he's also, able to do the dirty work for them, too. Such a good midfielder for them. Key man for Spurs, or key men for Spurs, actually, in this one is going to be Bentancur and Højbjerg. Bentancur and Højbjerg, I thought actually were some of Spurs' better players, against Nottingham Forest, and probably weren't given, enough respect. And maybe the reason, that they're not given enough respect is because I don't think they're as flashy as, maybe the likes of a Duckling Rice, or maybe as, kind of a easy, to watch as the likes of a Duckling Rice. But these sort of stats, show that these guys do definitely deserve a bit more respect, because Bentancur works just as hard off the ball as Souček and Rice, since he nearly doubles their pressure so far this season. Bentancur is on 60 total pressure this season, while Rice and Souček are on 33 and 39. So he's almost doubling them in terms of total pressures, which shows how hard our midfield has been working. And while criticized for his passing ability, Højbjerg has actually dribbled past just as many players as Duckling Rice, and has also been making more shot-creating actions. He's been able to play more progressive passes, actually complete more through balls as well than Duckling Rice. So Højbjerg, while maybe criticized for his progressive play, some of those stats do suggest that Højbjerg, shouldn't, maybe be criticized as much for his progressive play, or at least for his forward-thinking ability, because a lot of those stats suggest he is actually not the worst, or he is actually, what am I saying? He's actually good going forward, and he is able to thread those passes that maybe people don't want to see, at least in my eyes. But those are the key men for Spurs. Those are the players that I think are going to be necessary in order to win this game. And, like I said before, it could end up being, the midfield, that dictates whoever wins this game, and sort of makes sense considering West Ham's best players are in the midfield, and also Spurs, they have struggled in the midfield. And if we do a lot better there, I could see us winning in this game. Going into the key battles, though, the key battles are going to be, like we said just now, Duckling Rice and Thomas Souček against the likes of Højbjerg and Bentancur, but it's also going to be Antonio against Romero again. It was absolutely spicy to see that in person, and it is going to be huge again, especially if they go with the true and trusted Antonio, someone that is going to be very tough, against Romero. But Romero did get the better of him last time out. Ben Davies against Jared Bowen could be interesting. I think Jared Bowen is a really good player for West Ham. They do rely on him as part of their, kind of goal-scoring threat. And I think, Ben Davies struggled a bit against Nottingham Forest. And I could see Jared Bowen, cutting inside, maybe causing him some problems. He's pretty two-footed as well in certain situations, Jared Bowen too. So that could be a tricky test for Ben Davies. And then the other one being Kurt Zouma against Harry Kane. Kurt Zouma probably will be responsible for Harry Kane. Harry Kane start off the season very well. Zuma is a very aggressive center back, a very athletic center back, but Harry Kane is one of the smartest strikers on the planet. I do expect him to, maybe outwit Zuma in certain situations. But just to be fair, Zuma is a very, kind of tough, sort of athletic, physical sort of center back. And who knows, maybe that might be difficult for Harry Kane, at least in the opening minutes, at least in the opening parts of the game. But let me know, everybody, what you think of those key battles. Let me know of everything else that I brought up in this one. This is going to be your Stats with Jack. This is your preview for the match against West Ham, this massive London derby against the Bubble Blowers. But like I said, give me your score predictions in below. Smash that like button on your way out if you do enjoy Stats with Jack, if you do enjoy these previews and all the various content we put out there on the Irish Hotspur. Feel free to leave a super thanks as well. It's a great way to support the channel. But as always, come on, you Spurs. In Conte we trust, and I will be seeing ya.